This meeting to order. First item on the agenda is, I assume we do we have any visitors? I guess that's,
I don't think so.
don't see any. All right. Then we shall move ahead. First item on the agenda, approval of the December 14th Public Works meeting minutes. Paul, do you have any issues or concerns with the
Nope,
minutes as written?
I would move to approve, Jim.
I'll second. And all in favor, say aye. Comments and suggestions from citizens present. We do not appear to have any citizens present. Next item, general business, approval of the LOE from Bolton and Mink in the amount of $20,600 for the 2021 Stormwater Utility Improvement Project.
Oh, so this is our annual project. Staff has identified some stormwater facilities that need to be corrected, and we met with Bolton and Mink a couple of weeks ago. Dean and I and our stormwater inspector, we drove around the city and looked at each site. Some of them that we looked at, we didn't include just because of the expenditure that would be assumed with them. We looked at, Chestnut behind the high school a little bit. There's some ponding. We didn't include that. But anyways, they went back. They looked at how much time it would cost to come out and survey the areas and do all the planning, design work. Go out for bid, do all the documentation for the bidding, and then do the field inspection. So the number that they came up with, like Jim, like you stated, was $20,600, and that would be paid out of the stormwater utility budget. We have $200,000 budgeted. It's my goal to not use all of that on just this project, because I'd like to do some pond maintenance in pond 141 up on Diamond Drive, and one behind the Christian Community Home off of Wisconsin Street. I want to tackle that pond. So the project that you have in front of you tonight wouldn't encapsulate all of that I wouldn't use all that $200,000 budget. We would probably use, it's estimated about 120 to 150 after this work is done, and then any remaining funds would be used for pond maintenance. So just looking for formal approval tonight and answer any questions that you have on the project that we identified.
So sounds good, Mike. The question I have is, I couldn't tell from the pictures, they weren't labeled, so I don't actually know what streets those are on that we're looking at. It's on page 9, 10, and 11 of the packet.
Yep. So the first map, it's Elm and 8th, and basically what we would do there is there's 4 pipes going into one structure. Mm-hmm. And the main structure 97 is a manhole, and it's deteriorating. Mm-hmm. And it's just because there's so many large pipes going into that structure. So we would place 97, and then to alleviate any future deterioration, we would actually eliminate pipe 347, or catch basin 347, and we would move catch basin 348 kind of mid radii. 346 would go into 348, 348 would go to 349, 349 would go into so it'd only be one pipe going into the manhole. So that would alleviate some of that deterioration and then just clean up that intersection.
Okay.
The second map is on the end of Orange Street. So that's Orange and First. So this one's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So this is, we have some surface runoff issues. There's the catch basin is on First Street, which is catch basin 426. So if you take a left and you go down Orange Street towards the water, all that surface runoff from the road has no place to collect, and what's happening is it's going off into the shoulders, and the shoulders are crushed rock. Mm-hmm. And the crushed rock is being washed onto the trail and then down the down the trail towards the water. And so we're having to correct that issue time in and time again. So it would be like a concrete flume. We would add a little catch basin, which would tie into structure 1056, which would alleviate some of that, runoff. And then it would also, we would pave that little parking lot, and we would actually make like a nice little walking trail or boat kayak launch down to the water. So it would kind of be killing two boards with one stone on that one.
Mm. Okay.
Because that's on the park board's radar too. So, and then the last map here is at the end of St. Croix. This is Lakefront Trail, kind of the same thing. We're having some surface water runoff, and there's a trail leading down to the water, and it's washing it out, and staff is constantly having to go back there and regrade it and add new rock, and it's just a mess. And the trail would lead down to the water. It would provide access for canoers, kayakers parking at the St. Croix parking lot, and it would just clean up that area for future use.
Okay. Thank you. I would move to approve the approval of the letter of engagement with Bolton and Mink for the amount of $20,600.
I will second that. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item B, discussion and possible action to draft driveway language and incorporate into city ordinances.
Yeah, so this has stemmed from some issues that staff have had just from overall procedures with driveway construction in the city of Hudson since I've been here. We ran into a couple incidences this last summer where there really weren't set protocols or standards in the ordinances that kind of spell out what the city expects from just a construction standpoint. And then from a design standard, I know since Dean has been here, he's been harping on getting some language in the ordinances from a design standpoint. So when developers come in, there's set standards for driveway setbacks from corners and widths for garages. I mean, like I said, since I've been here, we probably had a dozen people come in and ask why, can I expand my driveway? How come there's limits on them? So on and so forth. So, right now there's just a couple spots in our ordinance that address driveways. I listed them in an issue sheet if you want to read through them. If not, that's no big deal. But the other spot is in the braking permit, and it's not really detailed. You compare it to, a River Falls ordinance, which I include in the packet as well. I mean, they're being really specific on, which type of driveway can go on an arterial or collector, a minor arterial, a local street, how wide can they be? How far off the intersection can they be? So on and so forth. And that's something that I think moving forward from the city of Hudson standpoint, we're getting to the size now where we really need to spell these things out and put it in the ordinance and have it all in one place. Because right now it's kind of dispersed throughout different documents, and they're not talking to each other really well. So to have just one concise area in the ordinance where Dean, myself, David Gray can point to it for developers, private citizens, so on and so forth. So I guess I'm just bringing it forward for your initial reaction and just to get your approval on it so that Dean and I can start to do some research and start writing the draft ordinance. We would bring it back to this committee for review and approval before we go any further.
So Mike, bottom line is it sounds like we just lack enough detail. It just needs to be cleaned up in terms of detail and sort of different situations that require different things, basically. Is that right?
Yeah, it does. And Dean, I don't know if you want to jump in from a engineering standpoint, design standpoint. I know you have some thoughts on this too, if you're available.
Yeah. Yeah, what Mike said hits a lot of it. Essentially, we don't have anything right now that spells out how far driveways have to be from like intersections. We don't have anything spelled out that says that there's only allowed to be one driveway per parcel, or that it can't be 100 feet wide, or something like that. So it's kind of a wild, wild west right now. And even since I've been here, there's been a whole bunch of things that I've seen that I'm like, well, if we had a driveway ordinance or access management plan or whatever, that would clear that up, or that would help that, or, that kind of thing. So it's kind of, we think it's time just get it all in writing and follow it. So
Mhm. Sounds good. I would move to direct staff to draft an updated driveway access ordinance.
I'll second that motion. I did have a couple questions. I guess my concern is I've seen there's a couple places in our area where they slope the driveway across the sidewalk, and so they slope the sidewalk as opposed to leaving it flat, and that's really dangerous. And I'm wanting to make sure that that's addressed in here somewhere, that they really can't do that. Because to me, the sidewalk has to be primary, and the driveway, you work it around it. That's the way I would look at it. So we want to be sure that's in there. And I really like the piece in here in the River Falls dime about the barrier and wheel stops and the lot surfacing for off-road parking. We have one place on Cooley Road that I think is probably violating what ordinances we do have, but that's really needed. So just those comments. Any other discussion? All in favor?
I just want
Aye.
sorry. What I was going to say, sorry.
Oh, you're done.
It was just more of a comment. I'm appreciative of Mike and Dean and just doing a lot of kind of comprehensive work on roads and plans and inventories and ordinances. And I commend you guys, because I think you're doing a great job for this city. And I think in the long term, a lot of the work you're laying in the past years are really going to pay off for future councils, future, public works people, et cetera. So I appreciate the comprehensiveness of what kind of how you're approaching all of this.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Motion, is it still an aye, Paul?
Yeah, it's an aye, sorry.
Motion carries. Next item, approve the 2021 Public Works meeting schedule.
Yeah, so if you've seen your packet, Public Works has typically been the second Monday of the month, and basically just carried that out through the year. There are some small fluctuations based upon holidays and election schedule and having to shift around council. So, but that's the best that we came up with, just from a standpoint, just to get it on paper. Obviously, it can be adjusted from month to month, but this is kind of what we had laid out for this upcoming year. Just want to get on everybody's calendar.
I think it looks good. I have one question, Mike, on the Monday, April 5th, and Deb might know this too. Is the election on the 6th in 2021?
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, are we using, I guess if we're on Zoom, I don't think it's an issue at all, but I'm just wondering if we'll probably be on Zoom is what I'm guessing anyway, so it won't matter. But I was thinking that you don't want to double schedule with, if they have voting going, setting up or something before or something like that, or early voting or something. I don't know how it works, but
no,
you think it's just going to be on Zoom, kind of? We'll just keep going like we're doing.
I think we'll just do Zoom indefinitely until either the council or the mayor says, we can reopen and resume in-person meetings, and who knows when that's going to be. So
okay, I'm good with it then for sure. So I would move to approve the schedule as laid out there.
I'll second that motion. The only comment I would make is that I'm going to be on vacation on 3 of those days. Hopefully, if we have one vacation that was canceled 3 times last year, so we plan to take that. But in that case, we'll just, unless there's an issue with attendance, with a quorum, we'll just plan to have someone else take my place and run the meetings. Any concerns with that?
No, I think I'm good with that, Jim.
Okay. All right. Taking care of that. And the next item, project update, 2021 street maintenance program, Carmichael Road.
yeah, so I just wanted to keep the board updated on what's been going on with Carmichael Road. So It was, Dean and I had brought this forward to be part of the 2021 street maintenance program. And our initial reaction was to do crack filling on the road from basically Crestview intersection to the south and kind of go as far as we can with our remaining monies and then pick it up next year. Since then, Dean has driven it numerous times and started counting the cracks in it. And if you actually look at Carmichael Road, it's not potholy, right? But you're starting to get some alligator cracking. There's some block cracking. We got horizontal cracking, vertical cracking, and I mean, there's just a lot of cracks. We called Farner, and we met with them on site last week, and they drove it a couple times, and they agreed. They're like, you know, you're going to put a lot of rubber at this, right? And they suggested a product called GSB 88 friction seal. They didn't suggest a seal coat, which is the rocks, just because of the amount of traffic on Carmichael and the turning movements, and they didn't think it would be conducive to what we're trying to get from that. So they suggested this other product. A couple other communities have used it, Amory, Eau Claire, the newer product, and I went out to Amory and just looked at it, and I'm not real sold on it either. It's new to the market, and I don't want to throw, you know, $100,000 at it, and it might not work, right? So talked to Robbie Kretschke, the St. Croix County Highway Commissioner, and got his thoughts on it too. And, you know, he was like, do you do a thin overlay? What's the longevity? How many years are you trying to get out of it? So needless to say, when it's all said and done, I think what Dean and I are going to recommend is kind of just go at it a two-way approach. We're going to crack fill the major cracks, the horizontal cracks that are going all the way across the road. So that hasn't changed from the 2021 street maintenance plan. So we're good. Yep. So that would start at the Crestview intersection and go to the south. So we're going to identify all the major cracks that have really wide joints that we got to get rubber in them. The alligator cracking, on the other hand, we're probably going to do either a flex patch or a spray patch over them to get them by. And, you know, like Dean and I had said, it's as much as we don't want to start planning for replacement of Carmichael, or, you know, whether it's a mill and overlay or reclaim, we need to start thinking about that over the next 5 to 7 years, because we can limp it along for that long with just some rubber and some surface treatments. But you drive it and actually look at what's going on there. It's getting to be in rough shape, and it's a challenging road just because from the, you know, the ADT, the average daily traffic counts on it. I mean, you got 15 to 20,000 cars going up and down that thing, and I mean, it's the busiest road in St. Croix County. So, needless to say, that's kind of the update. We're gonna continue on the same path that we first identified. We're gonna crack seal it, but then we're gonna add in either some flex patching or some spray patching just to get those alligatored areas sealed up. So, just wanted to keep you guys in the loop.
Sounds good.
What's what you're thinking on when will we have to start doing something to that?
You know, I would.
If we have money for it.
I would say we should start planning, you know, in the next 5 to 7 years. If we take it in chunks, if we do like from Crestview to Hanley in 1 year, and then from Hanley down to the southern city limits the next year. But we definitely want to start thinking about it big time.
Yeah.
So we need that utility funding.
That'd be great.
On a unrelated, but except it's Carmichael, Dean, where are we with the speed limit changes on that? As I recall, you got some pushback from WSDOT, and we need to do some studies, traffic studies or something to.
Yeah. So when I talked to WSDOT, they were generally amenable to it. They just needed to see proof that whatever we did doesn't, you know, make traffic back up onto the interstate or anything like that. So it's just a matter of showing our work, I guess, just to make sure that whatever we change isn't going to harm the impact of the interstate. And then I reached out to the town because part of the Carmichael Road is actually in the town of Hudson. So in order to have a consistent speed limit all the way through the corridor. We have to get them on board. And I've reached out a couple times and I haven't heard anything back. So I don't know what to do about that. So if either of you have any connections over there, can pull some levers or something, that'd be great. But that's kind of what I'm waiting on right now, is to get the town on board with everything. And then I was kind of waiting to do the traffic study until we got the town on board, because why spend our money doing a traffic study if we're gonna get shot down by them anyway? So
Okay.
Right. So anyway, that's where it's at.
Okay, who have you, do they have a, or they probably use it, who do they use for engineering? They don't have their own people, do they?
I don't think so, no. I've been reaching out to, well, Don Jordan on the town board, mostly because I've been in touch with him for other things like the Carmichael Road build grant. He was responsive to that, so I was hoping that he'd be responsive to this as well, but it hasn't been the case yet. So
Okay.
all
right.
And I did talk with Robbie from the county about it too, just to clear up, if they have any, need to be involved. And he said no, but you do need to get the town involved, and he can kind of be maybe a moderator of that too. So I did talk to him about that.
When I drive that, and I do it frequently, is I still have a hard time coming down to 25 in a all of a sudden, oh geez, slamming on the brakes. That's a big drop from 45 to 25, and it's not all that obvious, but it's hard to get used to, and most people aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So if the other part of it was lower, then that will make that transition a little bit easier.
Right.
Okay, thanks. Items for future agendas: snow plowing private streets.
Yeah, so just want to add it to next month's agenda. We're having some issues of some residents and certain developments that are on private streets, that are designated private streets and within the development, and they're not getting plowed out. It's like 24 hours later, and people are kind of being stuck in their homes. And Mike Johnson just wants us to do a little background as far as what we can do from the city's perspective, as far as enforcement's concerned, and if we want to get involved, so on and so forth. So it's on there just as a placeholder to discuss at next month's meeting.
Okay. Anyway, next one we can talk about where we are with sidewalks, snow plowing on sidewalks, because it looks like it's worse than normal. Not downtown, but out other places where there are sidewalks. Along Crestview, looks pretty bad. I saw a guy in a motorized wheelchair crossing and then driving down Carmichael because he couldn't get up onto the sidewalk. Oh my gosh, that's really bad. So I don't know.
There's a, like you said, there's a definite need. I mean, from a staff perspective, just the first couple snowfalls, I know we've talked about them in the past, but I would like to take over responsibility of snow plowing all the trails in town. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, we're going to have to look at hiring a full-time person and purchasing the appropriate equipment to do so, just because we got 14 miles of it and it's a full-time job. But that's something that's on my radar, as well as, Kevin, my public works supervisor, his radar. He goes, because right now we just don't have the capacity. And typically we have a couple of seasonal help that help us out in the wintertime, and we haven't had any luck getting them. So we're actually down seasonal help, and we've had to hire Complete Lawn Care, who does our parking lot snow removal downtown. We brought them on board just for this winter to kind of bridge a gap to next year to do sidewalk snow removal in the downtown areas that abut the parking lots.
Yeah.
So,
I think having to do a lot of walking right now without having full capability. I'm becoming real sensitized to the things where things aren't what they should be. I think one of the things that maybe incorporate this in the next, it's not related. It's just another topic. Maybe we can start that discussion next week or next month.
Yeah.
But there are areas where there is no boulevard and we plow it and then we pile the snow up. It's either on the sidewalk or it's right next to it, but you've got a 1.5, 2 foot ridge there that we may need. I'm not sure. I don't know what do we periodically remove that? I saw that it was done on the bridge over Lake Malu just last week, but Vine Street is particularly bad. We've got 4 or 5 blocks of no boulevard, and so we get this ridge built up. We either can't move the snow out of the street, or we're covering the sidewalk, one of the two. So that might be it's an addition. It's another piece of what you're talking about. I think is how we're going to maintain some of these sidewalks that are quasi-public, or where we create such a problem that an average person can't move that snow. There's some corners of Vine and Grandview, the northwest corner there is just horrible. As we actually create 2 of those piles, one on either side of the sidewalk, one from the street and one when we plow the sidewalk. So it's something we need to. We really want to focus on walkability, and there's a lot more people walking this year, just a lot more. Because of COVID, it's changed. It's recreational, I think, but so maybe include that as part of that. And I'd like to we need to open that discussion, and I certainly agree we need to be focused on it, dedicated, instead of having to try to do it whenever we can in between snowfalls.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I know you're on board with that, but I support that.
Jim, if I may chime in 1 sec. Public Safety Committee on last Thursday talked about the lighting at the Vine and Diamond intersection that I know you're aware of, at least. And they motioned to bring this to Public Works Committee to discuss moving forward with some action there. So that'll be next month's meeting as well. We'll talk about that. Also wanted to quick give an update on the Highway 35 project. We heard from the state that the bidding process got delayed, and so they're not opening bids until like March 9th or so. I can't remember if that's the exact date, but in March sometime. And they were supposed to be opening bids like next week. So I'm a little nervous. And they still are saying they want to get started as soon as possible in the spring, and the state moves like the pace of molasses sometimes. So I'm not holding out my breath that they're actually going to start work like right around Easter. I think it'll probably be a few weeks after that. So I think the project will be delayed, but I'm hopeful they can still get a move on and get the project done next year, but we'll see, I guess. So yeah, that's all I got.
Do we need to apply any pressure elsewhere to make sure that happens? Because we can't, we don't want this thing dragging on.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how we could, because it's in the state's bidding process, so I don't know that there's really much that we could do to speed that up. I mean, with the state, everything has to go through about 5 million different people before it goes out to bid, so it's kind of part of the problem that's slowed it down. So I believe that if it isn't out for bid already, it's going out for bid really soon, and then the opening bids in March. So that's they wanted to give it about a month or so out to bid, just because it's a large project. So
yeah, obviously we can't. I don't think we can do anything about the bidding process. I know how that goes, but if we can, if someone else, I know you will focus on getting them started, but I don't know how the heck we do this, but if we need to get to the regional and say, don't dropped the ball on this one. Don't start late. And just because the bids were open late, let's not start late.
Yeah, I'm also a little worried too about this late bidding, because the later you get in bidding, the higher the prices you get generally, especially of a project of this magnitude. If generally you want to be opening bids in January, February, so that you're starting on time, but also getting everybody's kind of best price for things. Once everybody starts getting booked up, you either get the people who are really desperate, or you get the people who don't need that much more work, so they kind of reflect that in their price. So we'll see what happens with that. But if the prices come in high, there's not a zero possibility that the state might push it back a year or something, just because of the process with it, or rebid it so that it's a 2-year project or something to make sure they get the right price on it. And we want to make sure we get the right price on it too. So
yeah. Is this something that you guys review in your staff meetings and kick around what the issues are going to be and who needs?
I'm not involved in the staff meeting, so I don't know.
Mike?
Not with the state. Not with the state, no.
No, but the fact that we're some potential warning signs here that this may not go as planned, cost or timing.
No, so so that that's one thing that Dean and I have discussed it between the two of us. But as far as like bringing Aaron in on the loop, we haven't brought him in on the loop. We probably should, just from a communication standpoint with the council and the public. I don't know if we want to excite people until we know for sure, but maybe just put in the back of at least the council's and Aaron's mind that, hey, this is there might be a 10% possibility that it might not happen this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, we need to be thinking about what's the downside of this.
Mm-hmm.
There may not be any to postpone it a year.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, or they might, there's a whole bunch of things that could happen with it. They could try to split, because right now the project, the downtown area is a mill and overlay, and the north part is a full reconstruct, and they could like split those two projects apart so that maybe the mill and overlay happens in 21 and the reconstruction happens in 22 or something like that. So there's a lot of different ways to skin it. So we'll keep you in the loop. I just remembered one other small thing. At Monday's council meeting, somebody from WISDOT is going to be giving a presentation about some maintenance they're doing to the Carmichael Road Bridge over 94. It's in 2022, excuse me. And that project is not the interchange rebuild project everybody's been hoping for, but it's kind of they're sealing up the deck and replacing some approach panels and stuff like that, just to kind of buy us a few more years to get to that point. So somebody from WestDOT will be there to present on that. But there will be lane closures involved. I think they're going to try to do work at night even. Yeah, so there'll be some impact, but they're trying to avoid, having this project go on while the Highway 35 project's going on, and trying to make it as a project of this magnitude or on that street is always going to be impactful, but they're trying to do things that are going to make it not so impactful. So just FYI that'll be happening on Monday. So.
And my pet thing is 11th Street Bridge needs to be redone before any of that to ease the backup that's going to occur with any lane closure. They may not be working, but I'm betting there'll still be lane closures on across the bridge. So, but okay.
Yeah. So you can think of your questions now for Stephanie on Monday. So.
All right. Is there anything else?
No, I would move to adjourn.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a nice
Have a good
night.